Welcome back to Free Play Arcade, the show where I find interesting games that you can play for free. It's no secret that I have a soft spot for games that remind me of 2D-era Zelda titles. There's something that I find so delightful about the top-down, dungeon-crawling, puzzle-solving mechanics from the 80s and 90s that shoots me right back to being a pasty white little child who never went outside unless I had to, instead of a pasty white adult who never goes outside unless I have to. This is where Knightin comes in. I know some of you are thinking, John, what is so interesting about a Zelda clone? Well, beyond the tongue-in-cheek plot of this game, it's stuff like this. But that's not all. Knightin is a game that provides a few different ways to discover the solutions to its puzzles, and is the first time in a hot minute that I have had to pull out graph paper to take notes. It was only for one part, but still, that happened. This isn't a long game, but it is definitely a game that I will remember the next time I play a dungeon crawler. So, what is Knightin? Well, it's a dungeon exploration game with little fanfare. You are a knight in a dungeon, and your purpose is to journey deep down until you face off against a boss. Nothing too outlandish here, just a monster and trap-filled space to explore. You wander around, find some keys to unlock doors that lead you deeper into the dungeon, and attempt to slay the boss at the end. Ta-da! You did it. Knightin was made by Vladimir of Muzt Die Studios, a single-person development studio based out of Ukraine. This game was initially made for the 2018 Newgrounds Pixel Day in January, but has seen a few updates since to clean up the code and make minor quality-of-life tweaks. Knightin isn't a very long game, but that shouldn't be surprising considering that it sounds like the initial release was made in one day. All told, it took me about 30 minutes to beat my first time through, but your mileage may vary. Knightin is a definite throwback to the 256 color days of the 90s, where awesome graphics literally meant how many colors you could show at once on the screen, and how detailed your sprite art could get. Knightin evokes these memories for me, and as a Zelda clone, does a very competent job of emulating the real deal, while also presenting a personality of its own. It's a very tongue-in-cheek game with no time for anything that isn't absolutely necessary to the experience. There are little hints peppered around the environment that show you how to solve the few major puzzles on offer, but for the less observant, there are those ever-so-helpful QR codes. It's a novel way for the game to convey information to players. Sure, this isn't the first game to utilize QR codes, but it is novel enough to catch my eye and write about. Knightin, as a game, has a steady ramp up in enemy difficulty and keeps things interesting without becoming repetitive. One of the benefits of being a smaller production. Considering the short amount of time that was spent working on this game, it's pretty neat how much there is on offer. Knightin takes a small pool of mechanics and assets and plays with them just enough to build challenge without overstaying its welcome. If there is one major criticism I have for Knightin, it's that the dungeon layouts are the same every time you play, and for a game that is not driven by any sort of deep narrative, I feel like this dungeon crawler would have really benefited from randomized layouts and enemy placements. But, that being said, what is on offer is definitely worth the 30 minutes I spent with it. And now I'm sitting here wondering if I could play through the whole game quicker, and using less keys. What is the fastest I could finish Knightin? Maybe I'll load it up again and find out.